United States. That's called the American Society of Nepalese Engineers. We are about 400 engineers of different disciplines. And our core objective is to see how we can bring in knowledge that we have acquired in the United States or elsewhere so that the whole engineering and architectural profession can get uplifted, whether it be through teaching at the universities or through lectures. We have established a memorandum of understanding with Nepal Engineers Association and with ANSET. We now have finally been able to put a little plaque up there saying American Society of Nepalese Engineers is here in this building. We are trying to provide books. For example, I brought some books here. We will try to put some code books in here so you can understand what are codes and what they do for you. Staff is going to be available so that they can communicate that information to us over there, and we will try to answer your questions. Those of you that are students can join the American Society of Nepalese Engineers, and it's free. Those of you that are not students also can join, but there is a small fee for it. The American Society of Nepalese Engineers is handing out scholarships at Kathmandu University, Tribhuvan University, Purbanchal University, and Pokhara University that do very well in the entrance exam. It's a $200 scholarship. We send out the notice, the students never get informed, and then we have to call. So from now on, we are not going to be notifying each individual university. We're going to put a notice at Nepal Engineers Association.
Urinals are lower, everything is lower.
यो कर्मा भूमिको आँगनमा कर्मको उदाहरण प्रस्तुत गरेर देखाओ यहाँको धरती बाझो छैन यहाँको धरती बाझो छैन विकासको फुल फुलाओ विकासको फुल फुलाओ.
There are a lot of codes and there are a lot of technicians who know all these things, and why they cannot do anything. Everything is based on politics. There are so many problems in Nepal, but if there is none to shout and say you are doing wrong, do it. And this we have to do always, and we have to be very alert. Thank you very much.
हामी ढिला भयो किन बिल्डिङ कोड चाहिँ रिभाइभ भएर हामी इन्टरनेसनल लेभलमा जान सक्दैनौँ भन्दाखेरि मान्छेको लिभिङ स्ट्यान्डर्ड प्रोफेसनल लेभल अनि नेपालको जिडिपी त्यो कुरा हामीले चाहिँ गभर्न गर्छ बिल्डिङ कोडलाई चाहिँ रिभाइभ गरेर एउटा लेभलमा लानलाई भन्ने कुरा गर्नुभयो.
Why is the Nepal building code in the state that it is? And the answer you got from an expert is because of Nepal's economic condition, because of Nepal's living condition. The obligation and the responsibility of codes is to ensure safety. We don't allow wood buildings more than 3 stories without engineering. Here you are allowing heavy 3-story buildings in brick and masonry without no engineering.
The building code of Nepal was built in 1990. It was sound for 8 years. Every consultant should practice Nepal building code. The government made a plan to study whether building code needs any improvement. I did it in 2010. Building code is a very dynamic document. We need to improve every 3 years. We asked the government to establish National Code Council. Fundamental things, the procedures, the check and balance, what kind of analysis we need, this kind of guidelines we could prepare. That's what we are missing. We don't have to invent the wheel that the whole world has done. The earthquake risk matter we raised in 1980. So this matter after this earthquake is still remaining at the same status. We need to emphasize the professional things which is our friend has indicated we need to bring into our document and raise our voice and our obligation, our liability in these things.
Developing a building code is not one individual's
Job.
responsibility, or nor can one individual do it. It is a collective effort of different disciplines. Please reside in your area of expertise. People who are not experts are talking about building code or earthquakes, and the public says, Mr. Architect said so, he must be right. But Mr. Architect's job is space planning and ambience, no? And quality of life issue. Geotechnical people are going on TV shows and describing a building of frame as being safe and we are barking the wrong tree. I cannot put my stamp on schools and hospitals in California, because for that they need another level of engineering, another level of scrutiny, another level of licensing, and they are called structural engineers. That almost everybody here is a structural engineer.
Yeah.
When it comes to saving lives, just that definition itself, so important.
What is the best idea plan code if no one cares? Just look at the road, there are traffic rules. I think 50 or 60 or 70% of public schools, health posts in the country collapse, despite having the code. And me as a town planner, that long time ago, when I came after 30 years, I did cry and weep. Because no one implements according to the good laws in this country.
Earthquake is a lateral force. It's a ground motion. All our buildings, presently without earthquake, is a vertical gravity weight that comes down. But suddenly it changes, that load changes into a lateral load. If it is very heavy, then the lateral load also becomes very heavy. So as Adanta said, the Dato Anga, whichever heavy parts should be lightened with modern technology.
So you're more or less agreeing with what you said?
No, not only agreeing, I'm giving justification that we should use modern materials to improve. Okay, our forefathers did a very good job. They were very good at that time with the materials that they used.
Why is
Timber.
that a good job if it's like this?
What?
Something should be called good if it doesn't even behave well in an earthquake, and we're supposed to be living in a country which had these big earthquakes. How is it possible for our great-grandfathers not to know that the way they were building is so terribly uninformed?
At that time, the materials available, the technology available, the knowledge available, they used the full knowledge, the full materials. In fact, they had terms for all sorts of types of timbers that were used. The chukuls that were used were called not chukul.
Build thick walls is not good, you are saying. To use middle wall is not good, whereas the whole building system is based on the middle wall.
But here the concept now is that it's not the bigness of it, it's the positioning of it, the ductility of it, the jointing of it, that's more important than the big sizes that you. Bigger, the heavier, the worse it is.
The technology is available, so why don't we change it? That is not an argument I can go for. If it is not good, we have to say it's not good.
It is not good.
We have to say that for thousands of years we're living like fools here.
You see, this is not safe. This is not enough. Make it lighter, then it may be enough. What will our children and our children say if the buildings that we have built as a heritage thing and then collapses? No, let's be more logical.
The engineers think that the whole building is engineering. The architects think that whole building is
but the structural engineers are, we have to work together with the architects to build a building.
Which I think is in line of what Anand has said.
I have a very straightforward statement that I made to engineers, that Nepalese architecture cannot be hijacked by modern engineering knowledge.
In this earthquake as well as in the one we had in 34, the rupture never came up to the surface, and there are sectors where this can go anytime. Each one is doing his research on limited ground and they are blowing it up. This big one is not coming.
We are looking at one fundamental issue, and that is to save lives. Whether it is now, whether it is tomorrow, or whether it is 80 years down the road, it is 500 years, based on the earthquake engineering science and knowledge that we have up to date. Is there a way to save lives and to have structures and infrastructure acceptable limit of damage? You really cannot say that what we did, our forefathers did, they did not recognize. That's not true. They did recognize it, given the times and the tools available. But that is the notion we have to put away.
Why do we have to put it away? Because
So can
I have
finish?
done a building using
Can I
all the
finish?
grandfathers'
Okay, can I
methods,
finish?
and
Can I
it
finish?
is not,
Can I
it's worked
finish?
out right.
Can I
It's
finish?
safe.
Look at this bottle. Is this full or half full? Okay, let's look at this guy's glass. Is it full or half full? Half full or full? Most people will say this is half full, right? It's full. When we do earthquake engineering and the science of saving lives, we never be satisfied with half full. We are looking at it for 90% full. If a structure survived, that doesn't mean that we did good. We have to ask why that structure survived and why a similar structure like that did not survive, so we can address that 90% full. Geologists, mining, architect, engineers, civil, all kinds of people have to come together and say, let's make this glass 90% full, not half full. And if it cannot be made 90% full, we have to keep on asking why.
Another perspective that is important is that of the geologist. Right now in Nepal, the big issue among the planners is resettlement. JICA just completed hazard maps for Gorkha and Sindhupalchok district. What I have asked JICA to do right now is to go back to Kathmandu Valley one more time and collect the evidence what kind of hazard really became disasters in April 2015.
State of California has developed what are called hazard maps. They are for seismic, they are for floods, they are for fire, they are for all kinds of possible man-made or natural hazards. Some effort is being put in there. It may not be developed here in Nepal, but we do use that concept back in the United States.
What attracted me was the question you asked. What went wrong? And then, can we do it? Now, no matter how much of money you pour in, you cannot make Sundara flow again. We have encroached upon all the catchment area of those water spouts. The Bagmati river, we treated the river not as river. We drained all our wasted sewage, just thinking that holy Bagmati, whatever get into that river gets holy.
I wouldn't want to have roti made out of something else because it's lighter and nicer. Art is art, heritage is heritage.
Nobody in his right mind is telling you to go back to the old, absolutely, or to go back to the modern, absolutely. You can have your cake and eat it too. If you respect the artisanship of the old and use the science of the new, merge the two together and come out with a structure that looks exactly like it was before. And that is possible. We have done it in San Diego, and that is totally possible in here, but you have to think a little bit differently.
JICA took responsibility for the Hanuman area and part of the West Korea. That for the first time, Japan is intervening in an area which is culture. They are worried that people may not like what you do. Even asked the same question that Anand and our friend here is asking. But I told him, go and talk to experts like Sudarshan, like Satya Mohan Joshi. Whatever they say, people respect.
All the retaining walls are all based on this. Bigger the retaining walls, the more load it can withstand. Can we just use this kind of principles where you reduce the size of certain walls in those kind of places where you can protect it from landslides?
What I showed you was a part of a bigger picture. So the principle in here is if you reduce the weight of the building, you draw less load. Thereby you make it less vulnerable to the people who live there. One technique is to take away the gut wall. Just because you make a huge retaining wall doesn't mean that it's going to withhold the landslide. If you fail to understand what this man is going to tell you, please take this thing 50 feet deep because of geological conditions. So you cannot take a piece and try to come to an assumption. You have to work collectively with all the issues and come up with the best solution that again saves lives. That is the fundamental criteria. You can have your architecture, but if it's not going to save lives, you're not going to do it. And that's what authorities should be telling you.
Probably a little richer in our thoughts about our heritage, engineering, and what we have learned over time to do things better for Nepal. So maybe we'll find a way of doing it well. And some of us are actually involved in doing it. So maybe those people who are actually involved in doing it will make sure that they do not make a building which is not safe.